Okay, so have you heard about this thing? It's NVIDIA's Evo 2. And let me tell you, it feels like something straight out of science fiction.
It really does. It's like we're on the verge of some serious breakthroughs in, well, everything from healthcare to how we produce food.
I mean, just the sheer scale of what this could potentially do is mind-blowing. So yeah, today we're diving deep into NVIDIA's Evo 2. Now, if you've been following the AI world at all, you know these models are already doing some crazy things. But Evo 2, this isn't about language or images. This is about DNA, the building blocks of life itself. And get this, we're talking 40 billion parameters.
40 billion. Yeah, that's a huge number. And it signifies just how powerful this thing is. I mean, the earlier models, they were impressive, sure. But this is on another level entirely. It's like we've handed researchers a new microscope, one that can see things in DNA that were totally hidden before.
And the potential applications, it's everywhere, right? It's not limited to one specific area of biology. And what's got me particularly excited is this article on IndianAI.in. They really lay out the potential impact of Evo specifically for India.
It's a fascinating read.
Yeah. So today, that's our mission, right? We're going to break down what Evo 2 is, really grasp what it can do, and specifically, we're going to look at the implications for India. We're talking about their future in AI and biological research.
Yeah.
We're going to try to do it all without getting too lost in the weeds, keep it understandable for everyone. So first things first, let's get back to basics. What exactly is Evo 2?
Well, at its heart, you can think of Evo 2 as the biggest, most powerful AI model ever created for understanding biology. It's got those 40 billion parameters we were talking about, which allows it to process huge amounts of biological information, specifically DNA sequences. Now, this is different from the AI you might be used to hearing about, the kind that writes poems or creates art. Evo 2 works with the language of life itself.
So instead of understanding words and sentences, it's understanding genes and chromosomes.
Precisely. And it's built on this incredibly sophisticated architecture, NVIDIA's Stripe Hyena 2. It's designed to handle extremely long sequences of DNA to really dive deep into the complexity of genomes. And, it was trained on an unbelievable amount of data. We're talking over 9 trillion nucleotides, the basic building blocks of DNA, from 128,000 different species.
9 trillion, that's almost impossible to even imagine. And this is a big step up from its predecessor, Evo 1, right?
Absolutely. Evo 1 was mostly focused on prokaryotic genomes, the simpler ones you find in bacteria. Evo 2, well, it can handle the much more complex genomes of eukaryotes, like plants and animals, and that opens up a whole new universe of possibilities.
And it can process these incredibly long DNA sequences, up to 1 million tokens. I think for people who aren't immersed in genomics, maybe explain what that means, that length, why it's so significant.
Sure. Imagine DNA like a really, really long instruction manual, a code that tells a cell how to function. These tokens, they're like the individual words or phrases in that manual. And being able to process 1 million tokens means Evo 2 can read and understand much larger chunks of that code at once. It's like going from reading individual words to reading entire paragraphs or even pages.
So it's not just looking at individual genes anymore, it's seeing how those genes interact, how they work together as part of a larger system.
Exactly. And that's crucial for understanding the really complex processes in biology.
Okay, so we've got this powerful AI that can read and understand these massive genetic blueprints. But what can it actually deal with that information? What are the concrete things it can accomplish?
Well, there are 3 major capabilities that really stand out. First, it can predict the impact of mutations, changes in DNA. Will a certain mutation cause a disease or change how a protein functions? Evo 2 can provide insights into those questions. Second, it can actually design new DNA sequences. Think about designing a gene to produce a specific medicine or a protein with entirely new properties. And third, it can help us engineer biological systems with much greater precision. It can make tools like CRISPR gene editing more efficient and targeted.
So predicting disease, designing new genes, and even improving existing gene editing tools, that's pretty incredible. And what I find really exciting is that the article highlights the fact that Evo 2 is open source, accessible through NVIDIA's BioNeMo platform. And they have this tool called Evo Designer. That seems really important for, making this technology available to a wider range of people.
Absolutely. Open sourcing this kind of technology is key for driving innovation. It means researchers anywhere in the world, regardless of their resources, can access Evo 2 and start using it to make discoveries. It democratizes the field of genomics.
Which is really powerful. So Evo 2, it's a global tool, a potential game changer. But let's zoom in on India specifically. This Indian AI article, they make a really strong case for why India is in a unique position to benefit from this technology. Why is that?
Well, you have to consider a few things. First, India has a huge population and it's incredibly genetically diverse. Unfortunately, that also means a high burden of genetic diseases. But on the flip side, India has a rapidly growing biotech sector and an increasingly vibrant AI ecosystem. It's this perfect storm of factors that make India prime ground for leveraging EVO2 to address really specific national challenges.
Let's talk about healthcare specifically. India faces some pretty significant healthcare challenges. How could Evo 2 potentially revolutionize things there?
Well, think about the prevalence of genetic disorders, cancer, and infectious diseases like tuberculosis in India. Now, imagine using EVO2 to predict the impact of genetic variations within India's incredibly diverse population. The article mentions its 90% accuracy in predicting the effects of mutations in the BRCA1 gene, which is linked to breast cancer. That's just one example. But imagine applying that kind of predictive power across a much wider range of diseases. It could completely change how we approach personalized medicine, tailoring treatments to individual genetic makeups.
So we're talking about personalized medicine at a scale that's never been possible before, specifically tailored to the unique genetic makeup of India.
Exactly. And then there's drug discovery. India is already known as the pharmacy of the world. Evo 2 could supercharge that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that jumped out at me from the article.
Imagine using Evo 2 to design new drugs much more quickly and efficiently, especially for diseases that disproportionately affect India. One area they highlight is the fight against antimicrobial resistance. Evo 2 could help in the development of new antibiotics, ensuring that India remains a leader in providing affordable healthcare solutions not just for itself but for the entire world.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about agriculture. We know it's a huge part of the Indian economy, employing a massive portion of the population. How could Evo 2 play a role there, especially given the challenges of climate change?
Well, one of the most pressing issues in agriculture is the increasing impact of climate change. We're talking about things like droughts, heat waves, and the emergence of new pests and diseases. Now, imagine using Evo 2 to design crops that are specifically engineered to withstand these challenges. We could develop rice varieties that require less water or wheat strains that are resistant to fungal blights, all tailored to India's incredibly diverse agroclimatic zones.
That's amazing. It could have a major impact on food security for millions of people and help stabilize the livelihoods of so many farmers. The article also mentions synthetic biology, the creation of things like biofertilizers. How does Evo 2 fit into that?
So, Evo 2's ability to design DNA sequences extends beyond plants and animals. We can use it to engineer microorganisms that are beneficial for agriculture. For instance, we could create more effective biofertilizers, reducing the need for chemical fertilizers, which can be harmful to the environment. And we could even develop new biopesticides that are more targeted and environmentally friendly. All of this aligns perfectly with India's increasing focus on sustainable agriculture.
It's like we're redesigning agriculture from the ground up, using biology and AI to make it more resilient and sustainable.
Precisely. And the potential benefits go far beyond healthcare and agriculture. There are applications in industrial biotechnology as well.
Yeah, the article mentioned textiles and biofuels, which caught my eye.
Think about industries like textiles, which use a lot of water and energy, and biofuels, which offer a more sustainable alternative to fossil fuels. Evo 2 can help us engineer enzymes and microorganisms that can make these processes much more environmentally friendly. For example, we could design bacteria that can efficiently turn agricultural waste into biofuel. Or we could optimize enzymes used in textile production to reduce water and energy consumption.
It sounds like Evo 2 is not just about making new things, but also about making existing processes much cleaner and more sustainable.
Exactly. And it has the potential to really boost research and education within India itself.
That's an important point. It's not just about applying the technology, it's about building the expertise to develop and improve it.
Imagine Indian universities and research institutions like the IITs and the CSIR labs having access to a tool like this. It could lead to a surge in cutting-edge genomics research in India. And because Evo 2 is open source, even institutions with limited resources can get involved. We could see a whole new generation of Indian bioinformaticians and synthetic biologists putting India on the map in this critical field.
It really feels like a turning point, the merging of the digital and the biological, and India is right at the forefront. The article specifically mentions India's India AI mission, this ambitious initiative to advance AI in the country. How does Evo 2 fit into that bigger picture?
The India AI mission, with its significant funding and focus on building a strong AI infrastructure and workforce, is the perfect platform for leveraging a tool like Evo 2. It shows how AI can be strategically applied to address India-specific challenges in biology and healthcare. And imagine training EVO 2 on Indian genomic datasets, like the ones being generated by the Genome India project. That would allow us to unlock insights into the unique genetic diversity of India, leading to even more targeted solutions for the country's population.
So we're talking about not just using Evo 2, but adapting it, making it even more relevant to India. And speaking of India-specific solutions, the article also raises the possibility of India developing its own similar models, this Bharat Bio-AI idea. That sounds really intriguing.
It makes a lot of sense. Having a homegrown biological foundation model, one specifically tailored to India's rich biodiversity and the unique genetic characteristics of its population, would be incredibly powerful. And it's totally achievable. India already has the expertise, with institutions like IIT Bombay and ISC, and the infrastructure is being built through the India AI mission. They're investing in a huge number of GPUs, which are essential for this kind of work. Plus, the government has already shown a strong commitment to supporting AI research.
And imagine the possibilities if this Bharat Bio-AI were also open source, just like Evo 2.
It would be huge. It would allow Indian researchers to collaborate with others around the world, attracting global talent and accelerating the pace of discovery. And it would build on the success of other open source initiatives in India, like the open source drug discovery project for tuberculosis.
The article also highlights how a model like this could help address very specific health challenges in India.
Right. Think about diseases like diabetes, which is very prevalent in South Asia. By analyzing data from India's diverse population, we could identify very specific genetic markers that are associated with these diseases. That could lead to much more accurate diagnostic tools and more effective, targeted treatments.
And then there's this fascinating mention of potential synergy with Bharat GPT, the language model project. It's like combining the power of understanding human language with the power of understanding the language of DNA.
It's mind-boggling, really. Imagine AI systems that can not only analyze complex medical data, but also communicate that information to patients in their local languages. Or think about AI tools that can provide farmers with very specific advice on crop management, all in their native dialects. That's the kind of future this could unlock, bridging the digital divide and making these technologies accessible to everyone.
It's a powerful vision, but like with any new technology, there are bound to be challenges. What are some of the hurdles India might face in really embracing Evo 2 or even in developing its own models?
Well, infrastructure is always a challenge. While the India AI mission is making great strides, we still need to ensure that researchers across the country have access to the high-performance computing resources they need. And that's especially true in areas outside of the major cities. We need to bridge that gap.
But it sounds like the India AI mission is trying to address that, right?
Yeah, they're definitely on the right track. They're investing in building these massive GPU clusters, and they're putting a big emphasis on skill development.
Which is essential. You need the talent to build and use these tools.
Exactly. And of course, there are always concerns about data privacy, especially when we're talking about genomic information.
That's a valid point.
But overall, the potential benefits far outweigh the challenges.
That's the feeling I get.
I mean, just imagine the possibilities. India could become a global leader in generative genomics, just like it became a powerhouse in IT. We could see a surge in foreign investment, a boom in exports of bioengineered products, and a whole new wave of jobs.
It's almost like we're seeing the early days of another IT revolution, but this time it's driven by biology and AI.
Exactly. And EVO 2 is the catalyst. It's a powerful tool that can help India unlock its full potential in these fields. And the idea of a homegrown Bharat Bio-AI that takes this even further, it's incredibly exciting.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into EVO 2 and what it could mean for India. It's clear that we're at the cusp of something truly transformative. And as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you, our listeners. We've seen how quickly nations can now leverage these biological AI tools to shape their future. It's a global race, and the stakes are high. So think about this. What are the implications of this for global leadership in science and technology? What does it mean for the future of innovation? It's something we all need to consider.
Hey everyone! Thanks for watching our podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more. See you next time.